He called me grandmother and told me he was happy to meet me, the Empress replied, her voice cracking with emotion. No Valarian child has ever shown such advanced telepathy at this age. Dr. Nari stepped forward with his scanner. Your Majesty, the child's psychic development is beyond anything we've recorded, but more importantly, his emotions are completely pure. There's no deception, no hidden agenda, just innocent love. Over the following hour, the Empress found herself completely captivated by her grandson. When Minho demonstrated his problem-solving skills by building a complex tower from simple blocks, she watched in amazement. He's using Valarian logical thinking, but approaching it with human creativity, she observed. It's like watching our ancient philosophers combined with human inventors. Li approached carefully, still uncertain about the Empress's feelings toward him. Your Majesty, would you like to hold him? The Empress hesitated, then slowly took Minho in her arms. The baby immediately snuggled against her, making soft, cooing sounds that were neither fully Valarian nor human, but somehow perfect for both. This child, she said quietly, is not the disaster I expected. He's remarkable. That single moment changed everything. Within weeks, the Empress was advocating for stronger ties between the two species. If my grandson represents the future, she declared to the Royal Council, then perhaps we should embrace that future instead of fearing it. The years that followed saw unprecedented cooperation between humans and Valarians. Joint research stations were established, trade agreements flourished, and cultural exchanges became common. At the center of it all was young Minho, growing up as a symbol of what was possible. By age 10, Minho was solving engineering problems that stumped experts from both species. He designed a new type of starship engine that combined Valarian energy, manipulation with human mechanical innovation, creating vessels that could travel faster and more efficiently than anything either species had built alone. The boy thinks in ways that neither of our peoples can replicate, admitted Dr. Yu, now heading the Joint Research Program. He sees solutions that require both human intuition and Valarian logic working together. At 15, Minho proposed something that would have seemed impossible just decades earlier, the first integrated colony where humans and Valarians would live and work side by side. New Harmony, as the colony came to be called, was built on a planet that challenged both species. The atmosphere was too thin for humans and too dense for Valarians, but together they developed technologies that allowed both peoples to thrive. Human determination pushed through the difficult construction phases, while Valarian wisdom guided the long-term planning. The colony's agricultural systems combined human crop rotation techniques with Valarian psychic plant cultivation, producing food yields that exceeded anything either species had achieved separately. See, it's not just that they're working together, observed Ambassador Kang, a Korean diplomat who served as the colony's first governor. They're creating new ways of doing things that neither species had imagined before. Other alien species throughout the galaxy began taking notice. The Zephyrian Trade Confederation sent observers, amazed at how two former enemies had become partners. The ancient crystalline collective, who had remained isolated for centuries, opened diplomatic channels for the first time in generations, the Human-Valarian alliance proved something we thought impossible, reported the Zephyrian ambassador. Different species can not only coexist, but can help each other evolve beyond their original limitations. At 25, Minho had become more than just a symbol. He was a bridge between worlds, speaking dozens of languages and understanding the unique perspectives of many different species. His ability to see common ground, where others saw only differences, made him the galaxy's most sought-after mediator. My son has taught me something important, Li said during the 10th anniversary celebration of New Harmony. Humans always believed we were alone in the universe because we were unique, but we were wrong. We're unique because we're part of something larger. The colony had grown into a thriving city of over 1 million residents, including not just humans and Valarians, but representatives from a dozen other species who had come to learn from their example. Standing before the assembled crowd, Minho smiled with the warmth he had inherited from his father and spoke with the wisdom he had gained from his mother's people. This colony isn't just about two species learning to live together, he said. It's proof that the galaxy is better when we share our strengths instead of hiding our differences. Every species has something unique to offer, and when we combine those gifts, we create possibilities that none of us could achieve alone. The impossible hybrid child had become something even more remarkable, a teacher showing the galaxy how to build a better future together. Not just stronger, Dr. Nari confirmed, his voice filled with scientific wonder. The metabolism shows adaptation capabilities beyond either species. Enhanced healing, radiation resistance, atmospheric flexibility. This child could potentially survive on worlds that would kill pure humans or Valerians. The human scientists across the fleet began buzzing with excitement. Dr. Yu's voice carried over the tactical channels as he shared his analysis with his colleagues. Admiral, if these readings are accurate, this child represents an evolutionary breakthrough. The hybrid vigor we're seeing could be the key to exploring dangerous regions of space that neither species could handle alone. General Tai's patience snapped. Enough scientific fantasy. These readings only prove that our princess has been contaminated by primitive human genetics. Primitive, Dr. Yu responded, his scientific mind rejecting the military prejudice. General, what we're seeing here is enhancement, not contamination. The child shows the best characteristics of both species amplified and improved. Hana's medical systems continued transmitting real-time data. Current readings show the baby responding to both parents' voices with increased brain activity. The psychic development is accelerating beyond normal Valerian growth patterns. It's responding to Captain Lee's voice too, Dr. Nari asked, amazement clear in his tone. The child recognizes both parents, Hana confirmed. When Lee speaks, the baby's heart rate increases and psychic activity spikes. It's forming emotional bonds with both human and Valerian consciousness simultaneously. Officer Kim, monitoring the broadcasts from Lee's bridge, looked up with wonder. Captain, human babies don't usually show this level of awareness before birth. Neither do Valerian children, Dr. Nari admitted reluctantly. This level of pre-birth consciousness suggests cognitive abilities that exceed both species' normal development. Dr. Yu was practically trembling with excitement. The implications are staggering. If humans and Valerians can produce offspring with enhanced abilities, it suggests our species complement each other perfectly. We're not competitors, we're potential partners in evolution. Partners? General Tai's voice dripped with disgust. You're talking about genetic mixing that could destroy the purity of both races. No, General, Hana said with quiet strength. I'm talking about genetic cooperation that could help both races become something greater than either could achieve alone. This child isn't a threat to our peoples. It's proof that we belong together. Dr. Yu nodded enthusiastically. Princess Hana is absolutely right. In human history, our greatest evolutionary advances came from adaptation and cooperation. This child represents the next step in that magnificent process. As the medical data continued streaming to both fleets, something remarkable began happening. Scientists from both sides started collaborating, sharing theories and observations. The wonder of discovery was slowly overcoming centuries of fear and prejudice. The labor began suddenly, 6 months after the tense standoff above Earth had ended in an uneasy peace. Hana was aboard the newly built station that floated between the two fleets, a symbol of the fragile cooperation between their species. When her water broke during a joint scientific meeting, both human and Valarian medical teams rushed to help. The baby is coming early, announced Dr. Yu, his hands shaking slightly as he prepared the medical equipment. But according to our scans, early birth is normal for human-Valerian hybrids. The child is fully developed. Dr. Nari worked alongside the human doctor, their former enemies now united in bringing new life into the universe. Valerian births usually take 12 hours. Human births can be faster, we don't know what to expect. Lee held Hana's hand as she gripped it tightly through each contraction. Around them, monitors displayed the birth to both fleets. Thousands of soldiers and scientists watched in fascination as history was being made. I can see the head, Doctor, Yu announced excitedly. The baby has Lee's dark hair but Hana's facial structure. One more push, Princess, Dr. Nari encouraged. With a final effort from Hana, baby Minho slipped into the world. But instead of crying like human babies or staying, silent like Valerian newborns, something extraordinary happened. The moment he took his first breath, a wave of calm swept through both fleets. "What was that?" asked Admiral Chen from his command ship. "My entire crew just became completely peaceful." General Tay, who had been arguing with his officers moments before, found his anger simply melting away. "The child, I felt something from the child." Dr. Nari stared at his readings in amazement. The baby just sent out a psychic pulse of pure contentment. Every Valarian within 1,000 kilometers felt it, but it wasn't controlling or aggressive, it was soothing. Baby Minho opened his eyes and looked directly at his father. Lee felt tears streaming down his face as he saw his son for the first time. The baby's eyes were the warm brown of a human, but they glowed softly with Valarian inner light. "He's beautiful," Lee whispered, gently touching his son's tiny hand. To everyone's surprise, Minho's grip was incredibly strong. His small fingers wrapped around Lee's thumb with enough force to make the captain wince. "Human newborns are usually quite weak," Dr. Yu observed, "but this child has the strength of a Valerian infant combined with human dexterity." Over the following weeks, as both fleets remained in orbit to study the miraculous child, Minho's abilities became more apparent. At just 1 month old, he was already showing signs of advanced intelligence. "Watch this," Hana said to a group of scientists from both species. She placed a complex puzzle designed for 5-year-olds in front of her son. Minho studied it with the careful logic of his Valarian heritage, then suddenly grabbed the pieces and assembled them in a completely new way that no one had considered before. "He's not just solving the puzzle," Dr. Yu noted with excitement. "He's improving on the design." Dr. Nari nodded in agreement. Valerian children would analyze the problem logically. Human children would experiment creatively. Minho is doing both simultaneously. Communication was another marvel. While Valerian babies developed telepathy slowly over their first year, Minho was already sending clear emotional messages to his mother. But with his father and other humans, he used facial expressions and sounds that were surprisingly advanced for his age. "He's adapting his communication style to each species," observed Dr. Park, a human child development specialist. "With Valerians, he uses psychic connection. With humans, he uses verbal and visual cues. It's like he instinctively knows how to reach each person in the way they understand best." At 3 months old, Minho demonstrated problem-solving skills that amazed everyone. When his favorite toy rolled under a table that was too low for adult hands to reach, he didn't cry or fuss. Instead, he studied the problem, then used his small blanket to hook the toy and pull it back to himself. A human child would have cried for help, Dr. Yu noted. A Valarian child would have used telekinesis if they had developed it yet. Minho combined physical problem-solving with logical analysis. Perhaps most remarkably, Minho seemed to bring out the best in everyone around him. Human soldiers found themselves more patient and thoughtful in his presence. Valerian officers discovered they enjoyed the spontaneous games and songs that humans use to entertain children. "He's not just a bridge between our species, Admiral," Chen observed during one of his visits. "He's teaching us how to be better versions of ourselves." General Tay, who had initially demanded the child's destruction, now spent hours each day simply watching Minho play. "I've never seen anything like it," he admitted to Lee. "Your son makes me remember why we became protectors in the first place, not to destroy, but to nurture and defend life." As Minho grew, it became clear that he represented something entirely new in the galaxy. Not just a hybrid of 2 species, but the beginning of something that could unite different forms of life across the stars. Empress Yuna arrived at the space station 6 months after Minho's birth, her royal ship gleaming like a jewel against the stars. She had come reluctantly, still angry about her daughter's choices, but curiosity about her grandson had finally overcome her pride. "I will see the child for 5 minutes," she announced coldly to the assembled crowd of humans and Valarians. "Then I return to our homeworld." Hana brought baby Minho forward, nervous about her mother's reaction. The Empress looked down at the small bundle in her daughter's arms, her 4 eyes studying every detail of the child's features. Minho looked up at his grandmother and did something that surprised everyone. He reached out with his tiny hand and gently touched the Empress's face, sending a wave of pure love and happiness through their psychic connection. Empress Yuna gasped, stepping backward. He spoke to me, without words, but I felt what he was thinking. What did he say? Hana asked softly. Then I'll give them something more important than anger to think about, Hana said, placing her hand on her stomach. I'll show them the future. Li worked quickly to establish a 3-way communication link between Hana, Admiral Chen, and the Valerian Fleet Commander, General Tay. Within moments, both men's faces appeared on split screens. General Tay, Hana said before anyone else could speak, I know you've come here for revenge, but before you fire a single shot, you need to understand what you're really destroying. Princess Hana, General Tay's voice was cold. You have disgraced your family and your people. Return to Valerian space immediately. Admiral Chen, Hana continued, turning to the human commander. My people believe humans are primitive and dangerous. They think destroying you will protect the galaxy. But they're wrong about who you really are. Admiral Chen studied her carefully. Princess, we received your warning transmission. If you're really trying to prevent this battle, we're willing to listen. Listen to what? General Tay demanded. Human lies and manipulation. They have corrupted our princess and contaminated the royal bloodline. There is nothing to discuss. Hana took a deep breath. This was the moment that would determine the fate of both species. General, the contamination you're talking about is actually the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to either of our peoples. This child represents hope, not destruction. Impossible, General Tai sneered. Then let me prove it to you, Hana said. Give me 5 minutes to explain what this child means, not just for our families, but for the future of both our civilizations. In the space around Earth, hundreds of ships waited for orders to fire. The fate of 2 worlds hung in the balance of a pregnant princess's desperate plea for peace. All ships, human and Valerian, this is Princess Hana. Her voice carried across space to every vessel in both fleets. I'm broadcasting on all frequencies because what I'm about to share will change how both our species see the future. Inside the human command ship, Admiral Chen watched his communication screens light up as hundreds of ships received the transmission. Beside him, Dr. Yu, Earth's leading xenobiologist, leaned forward with intense curiosity. 3 months ago, I fell in love with Captain Li during our peace negotiations, Hana continued, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was revealing. Today, I carry his child. But this isn't just a story about forbidden love. This is about the miracle. That science said was impossible. On the Valerian flagship, General Tai's officers exchanged shocked glances. Court scientist Dr. Nari stepped forward, his scanning equipment already active. Princess, you're broadcasting classified biological information, General Tai warned. Information that could save both our peoples, Hana replied. Dr. Nari, please share your findings with both fleets. The elderly Valerian scientist hesitated, then activated his holographic display. Medical data filled the screens of every ship in the area, showing detailed scans of the developing child. What you're seeing is unprecedented, Dr. Nari announced, reluctantly. The genetic fusion between human and Valerian DNA has created something extraordinary. The child shows Valerian psychic development enhanced by human neural flexibility. Dr. Yu gasped, studying the data streaming to his screens. This is incredible. The brain development patterns show cognitive abilities we've never seen before. The child appears to be developing enhanced problem-solving skills that combine logical Valerian thinking with human creativity. There's more, Hana added, transmitting additional medical scans. The physical development shows increased strength. From both genetic lines, Valerian longevity combined with human adaptability, the child's immune system appears capable of handling environments that would challenge either parent species. Captain Li, watching from his ship, felt overwhelmed by the implications. You're saying our child could survive in conditions that would kill either of us? Not just survive, Dr. Nari confirmed, his scientific excitement overcoming his political reservations. Thrive. The cellular structure suggests enhanced healing abilities, increased resistance to radiation and extreme temperatures, and a metabolism that can adapt to various atmospheric conditions. Human scientists across the fleet began chattering excitedly. On their communication channels, Dr. Yu's voice carried clearly over the tactical frequency. Admiral, if these readings are accurate, this child represents an evolutionary leap forward, not just for humans or Valerians, but for life itself. The hybrid vigor we're seeing could be the key to surviving in the harshest environments in the galaxy. General Tai's voice cut through the scientific discussions. Enough. These readings prove nothing except that our princess has been corrupted by human genetic material. Corrupted? Dr. Yu responded, his scientific mind rejecting the military mindset. General, with respect, what we're seeing here is enhancement, not corruption. The child shows the best traits of both species amplified. Hana's medical droid, still aboard her ship, began transmitting real-time data. Current readings show the fetus responding to both parents' voices with increased neural activity. The psychic development is accelerating beyond normal Valerian. Parameters. It's responding to Lee's voice too, asked Dr. Nari, amazement creeping into his tone. The child recognizes both parents, Hana confirmed. When Lee speaks, the baby's heart rate increases and psychic activity spikes. It's forming bonds with both human and Valerian consciousness. Officer Kim, monitoring the broadcast from Lee's ship, looked up with wonder. Captain, human children don't usually show this level of awareness before birth. Neither do Valerian children, Dr. Nari admitted. This level of pre-birth development suggests advanced cognitive abilities that surpass both species' normal development patterns. Dr. Yu was practically vibrating with excitement. The implications are staggering. If humans and Valerians can produce offspring with enhanced abilities, it suggests our species are meant to work together, not remain separate. Work together? General Tai's voice carried disbelief. You're talking about genetic mixing that could destroy the purity of both races. No, General, Hana said firmly. I'm talking about genetic cooperation that could help both races become something better than either could be alone. This child isn't a threat to our peoples. It's a bridge between them. Dr. Yu nodded enthusiastically. Princess Hana is right. In human evolution, our greatest advances came from adaptation and cooperation. This child represents the next step in that process. The readings are stabilizing, Dr. Nari reported, his voice filled with scientific awe. The genetic integration is not only successful, it's optimal. The child's development suggests it will possess abilities that neither parent species has ever achieved. As the data continued to stream across both fleets, something remarkable began to happen. Scientists from both sides started working together, sharing observations and theories. The wonder of discovery was overcoming centuries of prejudice and fear. All ships, human and Valerian, this is Princess Hana, her voice echoed through the communication systems of both fleets. I'm broadcasting, on all frequencies, because what I'm about to share will change everything we thought we knew about our species. Inside the human command ship, Admiral Chen watched his screens fill with incoming data. Dr. Yu, Earth's top genetic specialist, leaned forward with growing excitement as medical information began streaming across his displays. 3 months. During our peace negotiations, I fell in love with Captain Lee, Hana continued, her voice carrying clearly through space. Today I carry his child, but this isn't just about love crossing species barriers. This is about a miracle that our best scientists said was impossible. On the Valerian flagship, General Tai's officers looked uncomfortable as their princess shared such personal information with the enemy. But court scientist Dr. Nari was already studying the medical data with fascination. Princess, you're revealing classified biological research, General Tai warned through gritted teeth. Research that could save both our civilizations, Hana replied firmly. Dr. Nari, please share your findings with everyone. They deserve to know the truth. The elderly Valerian scientist activated his holographic display, and suddenly every ship in both fleets could see detailed scans of the developing baby. The data was unlike anything either species had ever recorded. What you're seeing defies everything we thought we knew about genetics, Dr. Nari announced, his scientific curiosity overcoming his political concerns. The child shows Valerian psychic abilities enhanced by human brain development patterns. The neural activity is extraordinary. Dr. Yu's eyes widened as he studied the streaming data. This is incredible. The brain scans show cognitive development that surpasses both species. The child appears to be developing problem-solving abilities that combine Valerian logic with human creativity in ways we never imagined possible. The physical development is equally remarkable, Hana added, transmitting additional scans. The child shows increased strength and endurance from both genetic lines. Valerian longevity, combined with human adaptability. The cellular structure suggests the baby could survive in environments that would challenge either parent species. Captain Lee, watching from his smaller ship, felt his heart racing. Are you saying our child will be stronger than both of us? The small human crew worked together with the kind of teamwork that came from months of shared dangers. Each person knew their job perfectly, and they trusted each other completely. When Jung's weapon systems overloaded, Kim immediately rerouted power from life support. When the navigation computer failed, Choi fixed it with spare parts and determination. As they raced through space, dodging energy blasts and asteroid collisions, Lee's thoughts kept returning to Hana and their unborn child. Whatever happened next, he had to survive this chase. His family was counting on it. Hana pressed her face against the cold window of her locked chambers, watching the massive Valerian war fleet prepare for departure. Hundreds of ships filled the space around their homeworld, their hulls gleaming like deadly jewels against the black sky. Each vessel carried enough firepower to destroy entire human colonies. Her guards had been doubled after the court announcement 3 days ago. 2 soldiers stood outside her door at all times, and electronic locks sealed every possible exit. Empress Yuna had made it clear that Hana would remain confined until the human problem was resolved permanently. They're really going to do it, Hana whispered to herself, placing a protective hand over her growing belly. They're going to kill them all. The door chimed, and Guard Captain Ray entered with her evening meal. He had always been kind to her, but now his face showed only cold. Duty? Your dinner, Princess, he said, setting the tray on her table without looking at her. Ray, please, Hana said softly. You've known me since I was a child. You taught me to fly a starship. Do you really believe I would betray our people? The guard's expression softened slightly, but he shook his head. What you've done, it's changed everything. The Council says humans are a disease that will spread if we don't stop it now. After he left, Hana stared at her reflection in the dark window. Over the past months, she had learned so much from Lee about human thinking. Humans didn't just accept impossible situations. They found ways around them, under them, or through them. They adapted. She began to pace her room, thinking like Lee had taught her. What would a human do in this situation? They would look for weaknesses, for opportunities, for creative solutions that others might miss. The electronic lock on her door was sophisticated, but it was also old. The palace had been built centuries ago, and while the security systems had been updated, they still used some of the original wiring. Lee had shown her how human engineers solved problems by finding the simplest approach, not the most complex one. Hana removed a decorative crystal from her jewelry box and began carefully, working at the wall panel beside her door. Valerian technology was elegant and beautiful, but it wasn't designed to resist someone who understood both its strengths and weaknesses. After an hour of careful work, she managed to access the building's main power grid. Instead of trying to hack the lock directly, she created a small power surge that would reset the entire security system for 30 seconds. It was a trick Lee had mentioned when talking about human approaches to technology problems. The moment her door clicked open, Hana moved. She had memorized the guard patrol schedules and knew she had exactly 4 minutes before the next check. Moving silently through corridors she had known since childhood, she made her way to the palace's private hangar. Her personal starship, the Silver Wing, sat waiting. It was a small, fast craft that Lee had admired during his visit. Humans would love something like this, he had said. We appreciate vehicles that can get us out of trouble quickly. As she powered up the ship's systems, Hana could hear alarms beginning to sound throughout the palace. They had discovered her escape faster than expected. "Princess Hannah, return to your chambers immediately," came her mother's voice over the communication system. "You are making this situation worse." "I'm making it better, Mother," Hannah replied, launching the Silver Wing into space. "I'm going to save both our peoples from a war that will destroy everything we've built." The palace defense systems activated, trying to force her ship to return. But Hannah had learned something important from Lee about human determination. When humans believed in something strongly enough, they found ways to accomplish the impossible. She flew her ship through the massive war fleet, using her royal codes to avoid being shot down. The fleet commanders were confused by her appearance and hesitated to fire on their princess. That hesitation gave her the time she needed to reach the hyperspace jump point. "Hannah, where are you going?" General Tai's voice crackled through her radio. "To find Captain Lee," she answered honestly. "To warn him and to prove that humans and Valerians don't have to be enemies." As her ship jumped into hyperspace, racing toward human space, Hannah felt her unborn child move for the first time. The Yao, tiny flutter, felt like hope itself, a reminder that some things were worth any risk. She had learned from Lee that humans never gave up when they were protecting their families. Now she would show her people what that kind of determination looked like. The Silver Wing streaked through hyperspace, carrying a Valerian princess toward an uncertain future, but also toward the possibility of peace. The Silver Wing dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's moon, and Hannah's heart nearly stopped at what she saw. The blue-green planet hung in space like a precious jewel, but surrounding it was something that filled her with terror. Hundreds of human ships formed a defensive line around their homeworld, their small vessels looking like toys compared to what was coming. Behind her, space began to shimmer and tear as the Valerian armada emerged from hyperspace. Ship after ship materialized, each one massive and bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The human fleet was outnumbered 10-1. "Lee, please respond," Hannah broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Princess Hannah. I need to find Captain Lee immediately." Within minutes, her communication panel lit up with an incoming signal. Lee's face appeared on her screen, and despite everything happening around them, he smiled when he saw her. "Hannah? What are you doing here? The long-range sensors are showing a massive Valerian fleet approaching. You need to get away from here before—" "Lee, listen to me," Hannah interrupted, her voice urgent. "I'm pregnant. The child is yours. My people know about it, and they're here to destroy humanity because of it." Lee's expression went through several emotions at once. Joy, fear, love, and terror all crossed his face in the span of a few seconds. "Pregnant? Hannah, that's wonderful and terrifying at the same time." "There's more," Hannah continued quickly. "The baby isn't just surviving, it's thriving. Human and Valerian genetics are somehow perfectly compatible. The child will have abilities from both our species." Around them, the two fleets began positioning themselves for battle. Human ships spread out in defensive formations, while Valerian vessels moved into attack positions. The space between Earth and the moon became a deadly chessboard. "Captain Lee," came a voice over Lee's ship radio. "This is Admiral Chen of Earth Defense. We're reading you're in communication with one of the enemy vessels." "Admiral, she's not the enemy," Lee responded. "This is Princess Hannah, and she's here to help." Lee's crew gathered around him on the bridge, their faces showing the same mix of hope and fear that Hannah felt. Officer Kim spoke first. "Captain, if what she's saying is true, this changes everything. But how do we convince two entire fleets not to destroy each other?" Hannah could see Valerian ships beginning to charge their main weapons. Her people were preparing for what they believed would be a quick and decisive battle. They expected the humans to surrender or be wiped out within hours. "Lee, I need you to patch me through to both fleet commanders," Hannah said. "I have to try to stop this before it starts." "Hannah, they'll never listen," Lee replied. "Both sides are too angry, too afraid." A ripple of surprised murmurs went through the assembled court. Pregnancy announcements were usually cause for celebration, especially for the royal family. But Hannah's serious expression told everyone that something was different about this situation. "Who is the father?" asked General Tai, the military commander, stepping forward with a slight bow. Hannah took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. Captain Lee of the human delegation, the silence that followed was deafening. Then, as if a dam had burst, the entire court erupted into chaos. "Impossible!" shouted court scientist Dr. Nari, his voice cutting through the noise. "Valerian and human genetics are completely incompatible. This is some kind of mistake." "This is an insult to the royal bloodline," cried Duchess Sue, her crystalline voice ringing with outrage. "How dare a primitive human contaminate our royal family?" General Tay's face darkened with anger. "This is an act of war. The humans have somehow tricked or poisoned our princess. We must respond with force immediately." The voices grew louder and more aggressive. Some nobles demanded Hana be examined by multiple doctors. Others called for Captain Lee to be arrested and executed. The military officers began discussing battle plans, talking about striking human colonies before they could prepare defenses. Through it all, Empress Yuna remained silent, her expression unreadable. Finally, she raised her hand, and the room gradually quieted. "Hana," the Empress said, her voice cold and controlled. "Explain yourself." Hana straightened her shoulders. "The pregnancy is real and the father is Captain Lee. But before you condemn him or his species, you should know what I've learned about humans during our time together." "What could you possibly learn from those violent animals?" sneered County. Min, one of the older nobles. "That they're not animals at all," Hana replied firmly. "Captain Lee showed me records of human achievements. They've survived ice ages, plagues, and natural disasters that would have destroyed weaker species. They explore dangerous places, not for conquest, but for knowledge. They create art that moves the soul and music that touches the heart." General Tay scoffed. "Pretty words don't change the fact that they're a threat to our empire." "Are they?" Hana challenged. "In all our negotiations, did any human ever show aggression toward us? Did they demand territory or resources? They came seeking friendship and trade, nothing more." Dr. Nari stepped forward, his scanner device beeping. "Princess, regardless of your feelings about this human, what you're claiming is scientifically impossible. Allow me to examine you properly." "I've already been examined," Hana said, producing her medical scanner. "The results are clear. Not only is the pregnancy real, but the genetic compatibility is perfect. The child shows signs of inheriting strengths from both species." The court scientist studied the scanner with growing amazement. This is extraordinary. The cellular structure shows Valerian psychic development, enhanced by human neural flexibility. The physical markers suggest increased strength and endurance from both genetic lines." "Impossible," whispered the Empress, but her voice carried less certainty than before. "Mother," Hana said, stepping closer to the throne, "what if this child isn't a disaster, but an opportunity? What if the universe is showing us that humans and Valerians are meant to work together, not remain enemies?" The court erupted again, but this time the voices were more confused than angry. Some nobles were intrigued by the scientific possibilities, while others remained firmly convinced that war was the only answer. Empress Yuna stared at her daughter for a long moment before speaking. "You have brought chaos to our court, Hana. The consequences of your actions may destroy everything we've built." Captain Lee was reviewing supply reports in his quarters when the ship's alarm started blaring. The red warning lights bathed everything in an eerie glow as his communications officer's voice crackled through the speaker. "Captain, we've got multiple Valerian ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're not responding to our hails, and their weapons are charging." Lee rushed to the bridge, his mind racing. The peace treaty had been signed months ago. Why would Valerian ships be attacking a human vessel? His crew of 12 looked to him for answers he didn't have. "How many ships?" he asked his navigator, Officer Kim. 5 war cruisers, sir, each one 3 times our size." Lee's ship, the Horizon, was a small exploration vessel with minimal weapons. Against 5 Valerian warships, they had almost no chance in a direct fight. But Lee had learned something during his years in space. Sometimes the smallest ship could survive by being the smartest. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Park. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Valerian commander with 4 glowing eyes filled with rage. "Human vessel, you carry the one who has contaminated our royal bloodline. Surrender Captain Lee immediately, or be destroyed." Lee's crew exchanged confused glances. Contaminated royal bloodline? What was this alien talking about? Lee stepped forward, his mind working quickly. "I'm Captain Lee. What exactly are you accusing me of?" "You know what you have done, human. Princess Hana carries your offspring. This crime against the royal family will not go unpunished." The transmission cut off, leaving Lee and his crew in stunned silence. Hana was pregnant? With his child? The news hit him like a physical blow, but there was no time to process it. The Valarian ships were already firing. "Evasive maneuvers," Lee shouted as energy beams lit up the space around them. Officer Kim threw the ship into a spinning dive, using the nearby asteroid field for cover. The horizon twisted between floating rocks, its small size allowing it to navigate spaces the larger Valarian ships couldn't follow. "They're trying to box us in," reported Weapons Officer Jung. "Two ships are circling around the asteroid field." Lee studied the tactical display, his mind working like a chess player thinking several moves ahead. "What's the composition of these asteroids?" "Mostly iron and nickel with some rare minerals," Kim replied. "Perfect. Jung, can you modify our mining lasers to superheat the asteroid surfaces?" "I think so. But why would we want to do that?" Lee grinned, the kind of smile that appeared when humans were about to do something completely crazy. "Because we're going to turn this asteroid field into a weapon." For the next hour, the small human ship played a deadly game of cat and mouse with the Valarian hunters. The horizon would dart between asteroids, fire its modified lasers to heat the rocks to near melting point, then lead the pursuing ships through the superheated debris. The first Valarian ship to follow too closely had its hull damaged by the molten rock fragments. The extreme temperature changes caused their advanced shields to fluctuate, giving the horizon a brief opportunity to escape. "How are they doing this?" one of the Valarian commanders asked over an open channel, frustration clear in his voice. Lee's Engineer Officer Choi overheard and couldn't resist answering. "We call it human stubbornness, sir. We're too dumb to know when we're beaten." The chase continued through a nebula cloud, where the Horizon's crew used their ship's simple but reliable systems to navigate, while the Valarians' more sophisticated equipment was confused by the energy interference. They led their pursuers through a dangerous gravity well, using the planet's atmosphere to slingshot away at speeds that surprised even the advanced alien ships. "Their tactical thinking is unlike anything in our databases," one Valarian pilot reported to his commander. "They're using primitive methods, but combining them in ways we never considered." Officer Park, monitoring the enemy communications, looked up with amazement. "Captain, I think they're actually impressed with us." Lee nodded grimly. "Good. Maybe that will buy us enough time to figure out how to get home alive." Princess Hana sat alone in her private room, staring at the small silver device in her shaking hands. The medical scanner beeped softly, showing numbers and symbols that made her heart race. She read the results 3 times, hoping she was wrong, but the truth remained the same. She was pregnant, and the father was human. Her pale green skin, which normally glowed with health, now looked almost white with shock. The scanner showed something that should have been impossible according to everything her people knew about biology. A Valarian and a human having a child together was like mixing fire and water. It just didn't happen. The medical droid floating beside her desk chirped happily, completely unaware of the disaster these results represented. "Congratulations, Princess Hana," it said, in its cheerful mechanical voice. "The genetic compatibility between the two species is remarkable. This is the first recorded case of successful Valarian human reproduction." Hana quickly grabbed the scanner and shoved it into her desk drawer. She could hear footsteps in the hallway outside her door. Her guards would be returning from their patrol soon, and she couldn't let anyone see these results. Not yet. Maybe. Not ever. She closed her eyes and thought about Captain Lee, the human she had met during the recent peace negotiations. He was different from what her people expected humans to be. While most Valarians saw humans as primitive and violent, Lee had been kind, intelligent, and surprisingly gentle. He had treated her as an equal, not as some exotic alien princess. Their first meeting had been during a formal dinner between the two species. Lee had been the only human who didn't stare at her unusual appearance or seem nervous around her. Instead, he had asked thoughtful questions about her culture, and genuinely listened to her answers. Most diplomats just pretended to care, but Lee seemed truly interested. Over the weeks of negotiations, they had found excuses to meet privately. What started as simple conversations about their different worlds had slowly become something deeper. Lee had shown her human art, music, and literature through his personal tablet. In return, she had shared Valerian philosophy and their ancient stories. The night before the peace treaty was signed, they had walked together in the station's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Neither of them had planned what happened. Next, it had felt natural, like two people from the same world rather than different species entirely. Now, sitting in her room 3 months later, Hannah realized how naive they had both been. She touched her stomach gently, wondering what kind of life her child would have. Would it look more Valerian or human? Would it be accepted by either species? The door chimed, signaling someone's approach. Hannah quickly composed herself, smoothing down her royal robes and arranging her face into the calm expression she had practiced since childhood. She couldn't let anyone suspect that anything was wrong. Her chief guard, Commander Yuki, entered with his usual formal bow. "Princess, your mother requests your presence in the throne room. The council is meeting to discuss the new trade agreements with the humans." Hannah nodded, standing gracefully despite her racing heart. "I'll be there shortly." As Commander Yuki left, Hannah looked at herself in the mirror. Soon she would have to tell her mother, Empress Yuna, about the pregnancy. The thought terrified her more than any battle or political crisis she had ever faced. Her mother had barely accepted the peace treaty with humans. Learning that her daughter was carrying a human child might destroy everything they had worked. For worse yet, it might destroy her. Late that night, Hannah slipped through the palace corridors like a shadow. The marble floors were cold against her bare feet as she made her way to the old library wing. Most of the palace staff avoided this area after dark, making it the perfect place for secret meetings. She found Advisor Kira waiting in the dusty archives, her weathered face lit by a single glowing orb. Kira had served the royal family for over 40 years and was the only person Hannah trusted completely. The old woman looked up as Hannah entered, immediately sensing something was wrong. "You look terrible, child," Kira said softly, gesturing for Hannah to sit beside her on an ancient wooden bench. "What's troubling you?" Hannah's hands trembled as she pulled out the medical scanner. Without saying a word, she handed it to Kira, who studied the results with growing alarm. The advisor's eyes widened, and she looked up at Hannah with a mixture of shock and fear. "This is real," Kira whispered. Hannah nodded, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "I've checked it 5 times. The baby is healthy, and the genetic compatibility is somehow perfect. But Kira, what am I going to do?" The old advisor set down the scanner and took Hannah's hands in hers. "Tell me about the father." "This Captain Lee from the human delegation." Hannah's voice grew soft as she remembered. "He wasn't like the others, Kira. During the first day of negotiations, there was a moment when the talks almost broke down. One of our generals made a comment about humans being barely evolved animals. I expected Lee to get angry, but instead he just smiled and said that sometimes the best solutions come from seeing things differently." She paused, lost in the memory. "Later that day, I found him in the station's garden area, reading a book about Valerian history. He had taken the time to learn about our culture before coming to the negotiations. When I asked him why, he said that understanding someone is the first step to respecting them." Kira listened patiently as Hannah continued. "We started meeting every evening after the formal sessions ended. He would show me videos of Earth, of humans doing amazing things, building cities, creating art, exploring dangerous places just because they were curious. I showed him our ancient texts, our music, our way of seeing the universe. And then?" Kira prompted gently. "The night before the treaty signing, we were alone on the observation deck. He told me that meeting me had changed how he saw the galaxy, that he had always thought humans were alone in caring about things like friendship and hope. But he said I proved that good hearts exist everywhere, even across species." Hannah's voice cracked slightly. "I told him the same thing, that he had shown me humans weren't the violent primitives our people believed them to be. He was gentle, thoughtful, brave in a quiet way. When he kissed me, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Kira's face grew grave. Hana, you must understand the danger you're in. If the council discovers this pregnancy, they won't just exile you. They'll declare it an act of treason against the royal bloodline. The punishment for that is death. And Lee, Hana asked quietly, the council will blame him for corrupting you. They'll demand his execution and possibly declare war on humanity as revenge. Everything we've worked for, all the peace we've built, will be destroyed. Hana felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. So what do I do? I can't just make this go away. Kira was quiet for a long moment, thinking. We need time to plan. The pregnancy won't show for another month or two. But Hana, you must be prepared for the possibility that there's no good solution here. Sometimes protecting the people we love means making terrible sacrifices. I won't let them hurt my child or Lee, Hana said firmly. There has to be another way. Kira squeezed her hands. Then we'll find it together. But we must be very, very careful. The great throne room fell silent as Princess Hana walked toward the crystal steps leading to her mother's seat. Empress Yuna sat tall and regal, her emerald robes flowing like water around the magnificent throne. Around the circular hall, dozens of nobles and military officers waited in their formal positions, their pale green skin glowing softly in the chamber's light. Hana had practiced this moment in her mind 100 times, but now that it was here, her heart pounded so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. She had waited 2 months, but her condition was becoming impossible to hide. Better to control the revelation than let someone else discover it first. Mother, Hana began, her voice carrying clearly through the silent hall. I have called this assembly to share important news with the royal court. Empress Yuna's 4 eyes focused intently on her daughter. Something in Hana's tone had caught her attention. Speak, daughter. I am with child, Hana announced simply.